Welcome to Afros in the Diaspora. My name is Sarah. I am your host, and together we will vent, rant, laugh, and cry as we discuss the highs and lows of being an immigrant. Stay tuned for stories that will inspire, inform, entertain, and give hope. This is Afros in the Diaspora. Welcome to another episode of Afros in the Diaspora. And today we have Shish's mom. If you remember from episode 6, his mom is here to tell her story and tell, and just share with us, share some knowledge and share some things about her experience with us. Shula, welcome to the Afros in the Diaspora podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to have you here. When Shish got in touch with me, they're like, my mom would like to be on the podcast. I was like, yes! Let's do it! So I'm happy that, you told your son that, you know what, I want to be on that podcast, and we made it happen. So I'm very excited for this.
Good. Me too.
Yes. Okay. So we will start with some icebreakers. And for our listeners, Shula is from Zambia. So, Miss Shula, I'm going to ask you some trivia about the land of Zambia. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let me start with a relatively simple one. What is Zambia's calling code?
260?
Yes. Plus 260. There you go. Okay, yeah. We're off to a great start. Mm-hmm. What was Zambia's former name before its independence?
Northern Rhodesia.
Okay, easy.
Easy, yeah. We're doing well.
Okay. What is the currency used in Zambia?
Kwacha.
Okay. When did Zambia become a republic?
October 24th, 1964?
1964, yes. Okay. Mama knows it. Mama's on point with it. Mama is on point with it. Okay.
There you go.
What is the capital city of Zambia?
Lusaka.
Awesome. Let me go find you some more questions, because you went through those too quickly for me. Way too quickly. So on Zambia's flag, there's an animal on it. Mm-hmm. What animal is on Zambia's flag?
An eagle.
Easy. See? Easy. Okay. On what river does Zambia derive its name?
Zambezi. You're trying to get me, right?
I'm trying to get you. I need proper, oh my days. I need harder questions. Hold up. Let me go find some harder ones.
Actually, I can give you a clue where I will fail. Anything current and political, I've got no idea.
See, I don't even like political stuff, so you're lucky.
Okay, good.
Okay, so Zambia has 72 different tribes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which one is the largest one?
I think my tribe, Bemba.
Bemba. Okay.
Is it?
Yes. It's Bemba. Okay.
That's my tribe.
Okay. Zambia is one of the world's biggest producers of which precious metal?
Copper.
Ooh, I feel like you went and you prepared for this. At this point, you went on Google and you were like, okay, I need to show this girl that I got this.
Yeah, Mama's got it.
Mama's got it. So, okay. Which rare African bird species, characterized by bright red plumage around its eyes, it's endemic to Zambia? See, if you get this one, I will throw my phone away.
Okay, there you go.
I got you there. It's Chaplin's barbet. I hope I'm saying it right. Yeah.
I would not have known that.
Not have known that? I did not know it 2 seconds ago, so that is cool. Okay, so which Zambian festival is celebrated to thank ancestral spirits for the first harvest of the year?
Nakawala?
No, let me give you one more try.
Komboka?
Kumboka. Kumboka, you got it. You got it the second time. That's cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me give you the last three questions.
Okay.
Who is considered as the founding father of Zambia?
Kaunda, David Kaunda.
It's Kenneth
Kenneth
Kaunda.
Kaunda.
Kenneth
Who's David?
Kaunda.
I wonder if that
I
was his
don't, I
dad.
don't know
Okay.
who David is. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay, Kenneth Kaunda.
No idea. What is Zambia's four-worded motto?
Four-worded motto.
Yeah.
Okay, you got me there.
One Zambia, one
One nation.
nation. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think this would be our final two or final one. Let me make
Okay.
it two. Let me make it two. Which traditional Zambian fabric is characterized by its bright and colorful patterns?
Chitenge.
Chitenge, yes. Finally, what is the traditional Zambian instrument made from a calabash used primarily in ceremonial occasions?
I want to say Kalindula. Is it?
No, no,
Kalimba.
no. Maybe it's very close to that. It's very close to that.
Okay.
Do you want to try again?
Kalimba.
I think what I'm
Oh.
seeing here is Silimba. Silimba.
S-I
Limba.
Kalimba. It's the I think okay, I think Kalimba is the same
Oh, it's the
thing.
same thing. Okay, okay.
I'd like to believe. Sorry, my fellow Zambians, if I'm wrong, but here we are.
Here we are. Wonderful. Thank you. That was fun, right?
Thank you. Absolutely. What a beautiful
Yes.
icebreaker. Thank you.
That is so cool. Okay, I'm going to round this icebreaker session up by asking you one riddle.
Okay.
Okay, easy. See, easy.
Say Sarah.
I am white when I am dirty and black when I am clean. What am I? Would you like
The
it?
only thing that comes to my mind is snow. I don't know why. Don't even ask me why.
You're
But
in,
the only
you're in Canada, that's why, and it's
and I'm
winter.
looking at snow.
And you're looking at snow. But no, it's not snow. Would you like a hint?
Yes.
This gives it away, but I don't mind. It is you can find me in a classroom.
Chalk? Board?
Blackboard. Yeah,
Blackboard.
Yeah, the chalkboard. There you go.
Okay. Oh wow, that's a good one.
That's a
a really
good
good
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one.
Wonderful. That was fun. Thank you. Thank you for giving it to me for, being part of the icebreaker session. And yeah,
Of course.
let's go into our topic for today.
Yeah.
And when you reached out to me, you're really, you're like, I feel like we hear a lot about the kids or the children's version of, oh, my parents moved here when I was young, my parents, made the choice and blah blah blah. But we don't often get to hear from the parents' point of view. And I think that's something that you're here to do, and you would like to just share, from the perspective as a perspective of a mother, like what that journey was, what that thought process was for you to just be like, you know what, I feel like my family would have a better chance, or my children will have a better chance, if we moved to a different country. And weighing the pros and the cons and choosing that cannot be easy,
No.
right? So I would just love for you to kind of talk to us about like your thought process and what that journey was like. From Shish's episode, he said, first of all, from Zambia, they moved to the US before moving to Canada. So would you mind just sharing just, that process of, and that's literally all we're talking about today, is from mama's point of view, the choice to move, and how it, had impacted and played a role, the triumphs and the challenges and the ups and the downs. But essentially it's a triumph because you've been here, your family's here, it's exactly what you planned for, and your kids are thriving. So yeah, please just talk us through the beginning of that thought process for you of like, I feel like we would have a better future somewhere else.
Okay. So initially for me, um, it was just Actually, I'll just go back to something somebody asked me. So when I was 8 years old, I went to England to visit. Um, and from that perspective, I always knew at the back of my mind there's something more, something that my 8 year old self considered better.
Mm.
So when I had Chish and his little brother and my stepdaughter growing up, I would always look at them playing and think, there is somewhere where there is so much more. There is somewhere that I know there is so much more. So that's where it all started. And so when I left Zambia, I moved and I left the kids in Zambia and I moved to the States. And then, and I'm sure, especially for my second born, he was only a year old when I left him. It must have been so confusing in the sense that one day here's mom and one day this person's gone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's not
Yeah.
like you can have conversations with him. And with Chish as well, it must have been like, we used to live in this home, we had mom and dad, and then suddenly everybody's disappeared.
Mm.
And through the process, my my stepdaughter ended up living with going back to her mother. My youngest son stayed with my mom, and Chish had to go and stay with my sister. So already the three kids had that separation. So I can
Mm.
only imagine. As a parent, I believe, like, from my point of view, that is the hardest thing anybody has to do.
Yeah.
Anybody, it doesn't matter who you are. For me, it was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And then, to make matters worse, when I moved to the States, I worked as a nanny. So you can imagine
Yeah. You're taking
having
care of.
left your children
Yeah.
and then nannying other people's children.
Yeah.
That was a lot. That
Yeah.
was really, really a lot.
I can imagine.
And it was, I think, 2 years later, just the way things worked out, the boys were able to come. My stepdaughter wasn't. And yeah, and then we united as a family.
Oh, that's incredible. And your husband
Yeah,
was
and then
able to come with the kids?
no, he had actually, he came before, so there was the two of us for I think a year or two or a
Mm-hmm.
year.
Right.
There was just him and I,
Okay.
and then the kids came the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what was that like? Now you have your kids with you. You kind of have to resettle. You know what I
right.
mean? Like you,
Yeah,
but because
absolutely.
moving by yourself, first of all, you're trying to find your way, and that's the great thing about having a parent go first is that they're
Yes.
able to kind of settle and prepare the way in a sense with to the best of their ability, of course, right? Try to get a job, try to get situated, try to get a place where if their family came to move, they'd be relatively comfortable before as they settle, before they move to a bigger place or whatever the case may be. So what was that like for you when your husband joined and your two kids? What was that like, and what was like the journey of resettling the kids, getting them in school, finding a place to live big enough for everyone, getting a job that you'd be able to feed kids off of? Like, what was all that like?
So the process of, like, when he came, when it was just the two of us, of course, that, I mean, you blend in, right?
Yes.
We had to take a lot of we had to really, first of all, the two of us had to adjust to the fact that we had a 360-degree career change. Like,
Mm.
in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have thought I would have to be a nanny, but
Mm.
that's what you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then for him, he was a business owner back home. He also made some adjustments and had to take a full 60 career change.
Yeah.
And with that in itself, I think the thing that we don't talk about a lot is we are grieving. We
Mm.
grief isn't just losing a loved one. Grief is, you know, losing who you thought you are,
Oof.
right?
Hallelujah. Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes. True.
Mm.
Your sense of identity, your sense of self, like the career you already defined yourself by, your family and neighbors and friends are right there, but now they're not,
Yeah.
your support system is gone. You have to start rebuilding all of that again. So 100%.
Yeah. So through that process of grief, you know, and grief, I always say there's this thing called comparative grief,
Mm-hmm.
which is in most cases some. So I'll give you an example. Say, for example, in a relationship, when a child dies, most of the times the marriage will fail or something happens with the marriage.
Yeah.
And people tend to think it's because the child died. I think I've learned now that it's because we're comparing each other's grief, meaning maybe the mom cuts down, stops working, like shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how she copes with her grief.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe dad just works all the time. And then both of them are saying, you didn't love our son enough. How come you're working? And then you think I didn't love my son enough. How come you're sitting on the couch? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, with that grief, we adjusted and we just became these survival people. Like focus, there was no, I don't even think we ever even talked about like, how do you feel, now that we're here? And like I said, it's grief. There's no conversation. You just act out. You act out what you're feeling, whether you
Right.
work harder, you do whatever. And you keep thinking, okay, when this happens, this will make it better.
Yeah.
When this happens, this will make it better. So in the process of that, so that was a challenge and a strain for both of us.
Right.
And then the children came, which to us, it was like, yay! But then again, whoa, okay. This
Yay!
means,
Whoa!
both at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the excitement and nervousness at once.
100%. And you
Yeah.
have to learn to live in that space all the time.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge for me was now to figure out my hours of work, who's going to look after the kids, what is going to happen when this happens.
Right.
And, again, Chish was, I think, grade 3, maybe 8 years old, somewhere there, I would love to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But my younger one, he was only 2. It was just before his 3rd birthday, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just before his 3rd birthday. And he used to go to preschool, and dad used to have a job where he drove around all day, and he would pick him up and he would just be in the car with him until, like,
So it's time to come
if you,
home.
if you ask my son today, he's like, I just remember being in the car all the time. But that was his babysitting.
Yeah.
And then, and one thing it's taught me is to embrace one day at a time.
Mm.
Like, immigration doesn't give you a full, I see it there.
Yeah.
Honestly, to survive immigration, you have to take one day at a time.
Yeah.
Because everything can change just
In
like
a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's that.
Oh my God. Thank you for sharing that, because like when you talked about grief, yes, because nobody talks about it like that. Like people talk
100%.
about, oh, I miss home, and oh, I wish, oh, but no one ever phrases it as grieving.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
it is.
which really, changes the perspective on how you look at it. And there's no longer a guilt, because sometimes it's like, well, life is supposed to be better here, but I can't help but miss, back home, or the food, or whatever it is that people miss back home. But
Totally.
so then people nurture this guilt that, my family did so much to get me here. I just need to
Yes.
I need to like get my head in the game and focus. And is that thing,
Yes.
instead of like acting out, rather than like having the opportunity to talk about it. And like in African homes, like who is talking about your feelings with you? Like
It's so funny.
we're getting, like, I mean, more and more nowadays, like that the ground is opening up for those conversations to be had between parents and children, among
Right.
siblings, between even husband and wife. But
Right.
back in the day, right, like this was you like, how many years ago was this? Over 20 years ago, maybe.
Over 20, almost
Like
25 years ago.
over 25.
Yeah.
Whoa, like who is sitting down to be like, oh, I miss, like, you got to think about, especially with kids involved, right? Like you're
Yeah.
like, okay, there's no time to even, you
Yeah.
have to pocket the grief and deal with it in your personal time, because 247 the children have to be okay. Is it worth like paying for babysitting, or is it more affordable to actually find a way to babysit while you work versus putting money down for babysitting? Because it could be expensive, and doing all the mathematics, like parental mathematics that kids don't have to think about, right?
Totally.
Where's food going to come from? What are we eating? Like what,
Right.
like how are the kids going to get to school? What are they going to be wearing? It's going to be winter. Let's make sure they're covered. All these things that children, luckily, that have loving parents don't have to think about, right? But
100%.
the parents are like, oh my goodness, I need to work more hours. I need to figure this out. I need to get more shifts. I need to,
Yeah.
you have to kind of fill in those gaps however you
Right.
can.
Right.
Right?
And in reference to what you're saying, you know, because grief is such a big cloud, right?
Mm.
You're going through what you're going through. In the meantime, kids are also growing,
Go.
right?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you marry the two? Like, I think, and then in addition to that, then comes blame, right? Oh,
Mm.
if only we had done this, and all
Yeah.
comparisons.
Yeah.
So now I'm very, I have a lot of compassion to people who, for the first 5 years, keep saying, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back. Oh, this Canada. Oh, da, 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 da.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, I totally
I
understand.
get
And
it.
then they go back for 2 months. They're like, I can't
Nah.
stay
Yeah.
back. Everybody there is so backward.
Yep. Yep. That's
And that's
true.
right. And
That's
that's totally grief, right? Because
yeah.
it's you. We just, I think for me, once I was able to name it,
Mm.
I was free from the cloud.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And another thing, just like you said, like the children also are grieving,
There
right?
you go.
And
Absolutely.
there's also a readjustment, right? Like in as much the
100%.
parents are going through their thing and the kids are going through their thing, and that's why I think, like, the older I got and the more I processed a lot of my childhood, the more
Mm-hmm.
grace and forgiveness I have towards my parents, and the more I'm able to
Mm.
see them as human beings who don't have it figured out.
Good
You
for
know,
you. Yeah, it
because
takes maturity.
like I could just imagine, like, you are having to deal with your own stuff. You are in a marriage that you also have to figure out. Now you have a job, you have kids to take care of. Now you have
Right?
to help your kids, adjust and help them, come back together. They've lived apart for so long, now they have to come back together, like
Yes.
building the entire family unit all
Yes.
over again, while
Yes.
the kids
Yes.
also have their own emotional outbursts, right? And their own, you know, thing they're dealing with, right? So, like,
100%.
I feel like I'm in a place where I have a lot of grace for parents, and
Good.
I pray to God about the kind of parent that I will be, just because just because I can barely, like, take care of myself right now. I cannot imagine having people depend on me, or like a serious marriage to also take care. Like, there's just a lot,
I
So
know.
yeah. So thanks
Can
for.
I? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, please go.
I was just going to share something in regards to something that you touched on. I remember it must have been Chish that I had a conversation with, where he, like, where you've had a certain conversation so many times but you never complete it.
Right.
So there was once he was saying to me something about, oh, mom, when I was growing up, you guys were never at my basketball games and whatever. And then I was like, I was there. Like, I mean, in my mind, I was there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, no, da, 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 da. Anyway, and then he goes on to say, anyway, it's not that I'm grateful. I know you guys were making sacrifices, whatever. So it always used to go kind of like that.
Right.
And by this time, I had done a lot of inner work. And then I was like, wait, stop. Don't try and tell me what you think I want to hear. I want you to go with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, yeah, I mean, I don't mean that you were not there, but you were not mentally, physically, like, there.
Mm-hmm.
You were there physically, but you were not there.
Yeah.
Right? And I say, that is true.
Yeah.
That is very true. I wasn't there because I wasn't there.
Right.
Right? Like, and until we had that conversation, it really put into perspective for both of us that you're not crazy for thinking what you were thinking.
Yeah. True.
You know? You are not crazy. So I'm validating your feelings.
Yes.
Feel, and I just wanted to bring that up because of something that you say that, you quickly come up with this conversation and say, oh no, I can't feel this way because my parents are doing the best they can. Look at how much money they've spent. And
Oh no, I still feel my feelings. I will still say, oh
exactly.
yeah, no,
Exactly.
I
That's
will
all
still,
I want.
yeah, I will still say, well, this happened
Yes.
and this
Yes.
happened.
And it's valid.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
100%. Oh,
Yes. That's all I
100%.
wanted to say.
Thank
Yes.
you. I appreciate you for trying to make sure I'm good there. But I trust
Right.
me. I know.
Good.
I've come to, and that was part of my process too. And for a while, it was an excuse thing that I'm like, well, I get that they were also going through this, but it doesn't excuse it.
Exactly.
It doesn't,
Exactly.
invalidate exactly what I was feeling. Like their
100%.
reality and their experiences are true and real and valid for them, but this is how it affected me, and it's okay for us to kind of look at that and just accept it for what it was and move forward, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that we can only heal from there because most of the times, and I'm saying this because our podcast is based on a parent's point of
Of
view,
course, yes.
that anyone out there that's feeling, oh, I can't feel this, my parents have spent so much money for me to be here in Canada, whatever, your feelings are valid.
They are. They are.
And I'm not going to say from what the parents' point of view is, but I'm just saying you as a child's feelings are very valid.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you,
You're
Mama,
welcome.
for echoing that, because
Yeah.
it's important, right? It's important. There's no perfect person, therefore there's no perfect parent, therefore there's no perfect kid.
Exactly.
We're all flawed and we're all figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so y'all settled in the US. Talk us
Mhm.
through how from the US you moved to Canada. What was that process again like, to kind of be like, okay, we gotta brace for impact and do it again?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So while we were in the US, we settled and we had two more kids. So now there's four kids. And remember, like I said, my stepdaughter stayed with her mom. So Chish and his younger brother and us, we were illegal, which means that we didn't have any
Like
permanent
papers.
residence or any citizenship in the US.
Okay.
And just the complexities of the immigration in the US, it was almost close to impossible for us to get anything.
Right.
So my husband's from Zimbabwe, and we were able to come into Canada claiming refugee status from the US. So even that, again, we as a couple went through a second round of grief,
Yeah.
in the sense that outwardly our lives were okay. Right? Like, even if we were hustling, like we had settled, we had a beautiful home, we had friends, we had community, but deep down inside, we knew, we knew that this is something that is gonna hang over us for the rest of our lives if we don't act it now. So it's almost like, you round up, you make this big journey from Zambia, and then you settle in the US. You almost feel like, now we can breathe and up again. Nope, you can't. Let's go. There's another journey ahead of you.
Yeah.
So that was rough for me personally. It was rough. It was even worse because I just had my youngest, and he was 6 weeks old.
Oh Lord, 6 weeks.
I know. And I had him cesarean. So, hey, talk about buckle up and do what you gotta do. Right. That was it. And I had I had him who was 6 weeks old, and I had my daughter who just turned 2.
Okay.
And then, and then they go on. So having a toddler and a baby, and also the kids had their own thing, and here we go. And then I think the most challenging part for me as a parent is I didn't have the answers. Like, I literally didn't even know whether we were going to succeed in what we were doing. I wasn't making this journey 100% guaranteed. Right. No, I was going by blind faith. right? We had heard so many people that had gone before us, but we didn't know. We didn't know what the process was like. We didn't have any headlights. We didn't even know whether do we pack up our home, like put our things in U-Haul because we drove across. Do we bring all our furniture? Can we bring our cars? And we went for the worst case scenario. We gave up all our furniture. We gave up everything. We had one car or something, and that was hard.
Yeah.
Fortunately, things worked out. Like Chish had mentioned, we ended up living in like a refugee center. All that, and the kids are just confused. I'm sure, I don't know if they thought they were on vacation. Who are these people?
On
How
a
come
new
we have so many
adventure. Yep.
And then on the other side, Canada for us, I mean, we lived in Maryland, and Canada for us was like a downgrade, like everything. When you go
Not
you
a
go somewhere.
downgrade. Not a downgrade. Come on, man.
Okay, not literally, but where I think I'm gonna say this. It's just from a place of comparison. Like where you are comparing everything.
Of course.
Whereas everything in the States, everything was lots, and then you're here, and you're like, they don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have this, and we had to just. So that was also another place of grief, like just all that and taking it all in, and instead, and I mean, finally the paperwork went through and things went okay.
Right.
But it did take time before I was like, yay, this is good. This is really, really good.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder, like, from the perspective of a parent, you're married, you have a husband, you have like 4 kids. One is not, with you at the moment. But what were some like cultural shocks that you experienced? Because from Zambia to the US and then from the US to Canada, so like that's like 2 very serious changes you went through and your family went through. So what would you say were some cultural shocks just from the perspective of a parent? Like, yo, Pampers are how much? Diapers are what? What do you mean? What are some things you that happened like that you were like, wow?
The biggest thing for me was the way the kids talk back.
Oh Lord. Was that you miming a slap? Oh my days.
I think that was, here for me, God gives you grace and prepares you, and nothing, no, is wasted.
Yes.
So remember, I said at the beginning, I worked as a nanny. That really, really prepped me into being a more like it's almost like I got to prepare what sort of a mom I would be. It gave me an opportunity to leave all the Zambian aspects of raising my kids and embracing the North American way of raising kids.
Right.
So I am so grateful for that.
Right.
Even though when it happened, like when the kids came and I was raising them, like I said, one of the things that were hard for me was, the talking back or, explaining to my child every moment, this is what's going on.
Right.
Like, you figure it out.
Oh Lord.
But again, I thank God and the grace for what I did before, because I hope when my kids hear this, they can testify and say she's right. It gave me a lot of patience. It gave me a lot of patience.
Right.
So that was an adjustment for me.
Right.
The other thing too is you mentioned it, talking about the feelings.
Yeah.
So those things, they're so hidden, and I'm not saying that is a full culture shift.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I, for one, didn't grow up like that.
Hmm.
Um, so you you're asking me to do something that I don't have any reference point from.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the two that I can think of right now.
For sure.
Mhm.
And like that talking about feelings one, I think even uh, you're right. Like sometimes when and my mom, like thank God for growth, right? And like
Yeah.
growth does it even it continues even in parenthood, and because
Oh,
you're
totally.
still a human being, right? You're still evolving.
Yeah.
So like I can just like reference conversations with my own mom who like God bless her, right?
Yeah.
And we would just have conversations. And there was one time she called me. This was a few years ago,
Mhm.
and I was just a little bit down on the phone. Like I wasn't as like hyper as I normally would be. And she's like, "You're not talking to me. What's going on? What's happening? Are you okay? What's going on?" And I'm like, and I started to share like, I'm really frustrated. I don't know what's gonna happen with my future. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling blah blah blah. And my mom was like, and my mom was like, "Don't you know you're a child of God? Why
Mm.
would you be so? Why would you worry? Why would you this? Don't you know it's not of God?" Blah 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 blah. And she just went off on me. And I was like, I was so shocked. Like my brother was in the room and he was looking at me like, "What happened? What did you say?" And children of God are not scared. As a child of God, you're not supposed to be afraid. What do you mean by? And I, whoa.
You set it off.
And I just was like, wow.
Right. Right.
And like, and we got to talk about that later, right?
Right. Right.
And now when we were talking and she's like, I've had a long day. I'm tired. I'm like, don't you know you're a child of God? Children of God don't get tired. And I
Amen.
and I can
Amen.
I will use it to banter now, but like in that moment, it was
Mm.
it was not what I needed at all. And
Mm.
what that did was only make me shut down, and then I didn't
Mm.
feel like I could open up to her, right?
That's
because
interesting.
she wasn't able to hold space for me, and she just didn't know how to, right? What she knew was religion, what she knew was Jesus, right? When you're sad, you go pray, read your Bible, sing praises, move on. What is
Mm.
it? What's the bad thing that happened? Be positive. God will work all things out for your good. And that's just how she knew how to reframe things, and that's how she knew how to kind of like move forward and try to be positive and don't think about the bad things that happen. Let God deal with it. Try to move forward, try to be good to people, and be have a good heart towards people, and it will come back to you. But in that moment of just sharing some of my own fears just as a young woman in the world, like my she's she lives in Nigeria. She wasn't, she doesn't live here with me, and most of my
Right.
family's back home. Some of them are here, but I was just a young like daughter trying to seek some sort of encouragement, I guess, or comfort,
100%.
right? But she
100%.
didn't know how to give that in that moment. And thank
Right.
God, things are better now. Of course, there's been growth, but that just came to mind when you were talking about the idea of talking about feelings and talking
Right.
about I don't because in her time I'm sure like even if she's not feeling up to it, she's like, well, this and this they have to be done, so snap out
Right.
of it, right? And just
Right.
go for it. You don't like most
Right.
times people are not able to really sit with the feeling and see,
Yes.
oh, I'm sad right now, let me take a moment and
Yes.
go through the emotion before coming out on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And and beautifully said. You know how you said hold space. I had I've had to grow in that area because we can't give what we don't have.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not even an excuse, it's just is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm sure especially us from Africa, we were so influenced by Christianity and our
Traditional
faith,
beliefs. Yeah.
100% traditional, and those two combinations,
Mm-hmm.
they're so hard to penetrate
Yeah.
because it's almost like this is the solid truth. this is what God said.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, but I don't feel that way. But
Right now. Yeah.
you
Right
know,
now,
right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
even,
So,
yeah. And even if the way that she even came at it was like,
mm,
how dare you feel sad? Like,
yes.
it came from I almost felt attacked. I'm like, wow.
Mm,
If she was even able to phrase it in a more encouraging way, because of
totally.
course you can use the Bible and Christianity and your faith to encourage
100%.
others, right? But I
100%.
think
Yeah.
I don't know what she was going through that day. I think she just was like, look at this child that we have struggled and sent to Canada. You are feeling sad. What do you mean? We have invested in your future and you are saying you are not sure about your future. My friend, will you will you
Do you
get
know?
get it
Do you
together?
know that we've mortgaged the house right now?
Yeah. Do you know the who we went to go and borrow money from to pay your school fees? What do you mean you are feeling sad about your future? Your future is bright in Jesus' name. Like that was literally
I know. I hear you. I
that
hear
was
you.
literally like I'm sure she was like your future care. Future that we have toiled, sweat, blood, tears, everything inside this your future. My friend, you are not sad in Jesus' name. Like that's literally
I had a friend of mine who sent her daughter here, and her daughter was going through depression, which I understand, right? Like
right.
some mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me saying the same thing. Ah, Shula, can you talk to your daughter there? Because me, I don't understand. What mental illness? She's like, does she know how much we've so trying to make my friends see that what, a child here alone, like out in Saskatchewan or whatever, like it's not what you think.
Yeah.
It's not as glam as you want to make it. They are also going through the same thing. So anyway, just to
Yeah.
retaliate on
Yeah.
what you said,
For
that's so
sure.
yeah.
but yeah, no, so like when you talked about the idea of feelings and sharing that, and
Yes.
like and sometimes even with you, right, you had to
Hmm.
move here, you have a whole lot of feelings of your
Oh,
own,
totally.
you
Hmm.
know
Hmm. Yeah.
and then raising a generation in which like they feel more comfortable
Yeah.
opening up in the way that
Right.
maybe you don't feel as comfortable, or you're just not raised to do that. That's also a kind of a point of tension, probably, where it's like, what do you mean? I mean, you are sad, but must you talk about it? Like,
And even you know what, in addition to that, even the context of um just, I think, them allowing,
mhm,
just even that is like, you because allowing means I hold your space, you tell me how you feel, and I allow you,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
As a parent, my go-to is, let's fix it. What's the problem? Let's fix
yeah,
it.
yes,
Right?
yeah,
And then the challenges we have as parents is, you came to me, you told me something, we tried to fix it, and you didn't take my advice. So what's the point?
right,
Right?
yeah,
Like, it's so like, but we're not all trained psychologists to know that, oh, here the person just wants me to hear them out.
right.
Trust me, any parent, when a child comes to us, our first incline is, there's a problem, let's fix it.
Let's fix it. Let's figure it out.
Right? Let's
Yeah.
figure it out. What's the problem? And then when you're talking about feelings, the parent is sitting there waiting for you, for that moment where you're going to say, so what do you think, mom?
Yeah.
And when it's not coming, it's like, what are we doing? You. For 1 hour. We spent 1 hour.
Oh my days. Not you looking at the clock. You're like, we've been here for 1 hour. What is the point? Let's get to it.
And then that's when now you hear us African moms go, mm. Because, oh gosh.
Oh my days. Oh, and like kids can talk sometimes, but just be like blah blah blah, just like you're like I got work to go to. I have this to get to. My shift starts in 30 minutes. Let's round this up, right?
Like I have a daughter who's so emotional. Like she has all ranges. She can be extremely happy or extremely like she wears her emotions on her sleeve. So sometimes she would call you, I'm like, who
Oh,
died?
not who died.
Mom, mom. I'm like, hey. Now I've learned. I'm just like, hey, let her finish.
Yeah, I get that.
Then she's
Oh.
so she's in Toronto and we're here. She's, today I just had a very bad day. I'm like, hey, okay,
Oh.
okay, here we are.
But I think it's also such a beautiful thing when your child can call you after they've had a long day as an adult.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
You
No,
know?
and that's why I call it it's all in all. It's the messiness, it's the
Yeah.
beauty, it's
Yeah.
everything that brings
Yeah.
it all together.
It
Yes,
really is.
yes,
It really
yeah.
is. Wonderful. Okay, let's talk about some challenges that you faced as a parent. And we've talked about some of it, right? Like,
Hmm.
some adjustments you've had to make, become more patient as a parent. Plus, of course, all the life things that you also have to deal with and figure out. Um, how would you say that all like the shifts all in all like challenged your relationship with your husband, like your marriage, if you're open to talking about this?
For
And
sure.
how would you say it affected one, your marriage, two, your I always ask this question when I have like on almost every episode,
That's right.
your sense of self and identity, right? Because now you're in a new space. I mean, the US and Canada, you're around mostly Caucasian folks, who and whether you like it or not, like the reality of the matter is you're black, and therefore like you're thrust into the socio-economical, historical like biases that already exist towards black people in North
Right,
America, right? So
right.
how then do you like deal with, or did you face this? How did you deal with um racism, if you experienced any discrimination and things like that? And how did you brace your children as black folks living in this society that you're black, and this is just the awful reality of things, that sometimes people may pick on you just because you're black? Like, did you ever have that conversation? So I know this is like a big cluster of questions that I asked,
No,
but if you want me to like re ask anything, just let me know.
for sure. Okay. I'll start with both my husband and I come from Zambia and him from Zimbabwe. So, just to bring context to the conversation, we were the first, like our parents were the cream of colonization.
What does that mean?
Meaning, so like Zambia was, we became a republic in 1964,
Right.
right? Which means that when I was born, and my parents were the first people who took over the white people's jobs
Mm,
and white people's lifestyles.
right.
They were the first, they were the cream right after all the white people left in 1964 after everything. My parents were the first people who got those jobs. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yes.
So I was raised by parents who already had a quote unquote identity crisis in the sense that even though they didn't immigrate out of Zambia, they immigrated from their hometown into the cities now because now the white people had left. Now they're in the cities. So now they're taking over the white people's jobs and they're even the lifestyle,
Mm,
right?
right.
So they're now taking over the homes. When white people lived in even whether it's South Africa, Zambia,
Mm-hmm.
Zimbabwe, they lived in homes where they had big homes with swimming pools and all that. So we were the first cream of the people that got into those homes, right?
Right.
So I just want to bring that into context because it it took me a long time to reconcile the identity crisis. So I'm being raised by people who are saying, embrace the white man, do this, sit properly, curtsy, do this, do this. Already, they're giving me, don't be too primitive
Mm,
per se.
right.
The schools I went to, we went to convent schools. There already there was, oh, you've got to speak properly. You've got to be like, even when I speak, sometimes I'm like, what? Like you had to speak in a certain way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the nuns would be like on you. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to bring that into context.
Thank you.
So now we are coming here. Remember, I am also, so one thing my husband and I made conscious of is always lived in neighborhoods that were safe and, safe and, yeah, safe for the children.
Yeah.
But with that, is safety equaled whiteness,
Right.
right?
Right.
So we kind of positioned ourselves where we, if any, probably the only black family in a neighborhood full of white kids.
Mm-hmm.
Again, tunnel vision, this is what's better. We
Right.
didn't, it really, I mean, we, in our minds, oh, we can have community when we need it. So we were not conscious of the fact that, oh, maybe let's position them in where they're growing up with people of their color, more like-minded. We were not I believe 100% we were not thinking like that.
Mm-hmm.
We were conscious of the fact, let's keep them in neighborhoods where they're safe,
Mm-hmm.
per se.
Right.
So the challenges of that is whether it's us as parents, it's the children, there's a continuous sense of I am not enough.
Mm.
Or try a little harder.
Yeah.
There's always a continuous sense of being othered, whether it's, you know, so I wanted to bring that into context, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So when they're going into the schools, remember our truck mind is safety,
Yeah.
and safety equaled white neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even thinking, would they be bullied? Are they the only black child? We are looking safety and opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And safety and opportunity usually comes in a predominantly white neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, which meant that we also had to take on jobs where you're the only black person,
Yeah.
right? So, so there was all that blending in and all that challenge that came with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just come out and you just have to be aggressive and just pull through. Like, it's going to happen. I mean, Calgary has evolved over the years. When we
Mm-hmm.
came in 2007, you know how now you can go to Nyla and buy your hair things? There was none of that.
Right.
Like, there was none of that. Like, you know how I think there was only one store where you could buy food? Other than that, there was nothing.
Mm.
So even just moving from Ontario to Calgary, you've already chosen other, because Calgary as a whole was meant, there was opportunities, but there was no diversity.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers the question of the challenges.
Yeah, it definitely answers the question of like the sense of like identity and, having like that come and so okay, so you mentioned, if I could just piggyback off of what you said and ask some more questions,
For sure.
you said that like you and your husband were just like thinking safety, and from your knowledge and experience at that time, safety was predominantly white neighborhoods for schools and like all that stuff. Did you
Right.
ever, you weren't really thinking, will they be bullied, will they be the only, like that really was not your thought process, but did
No.
at any point where did you consider like, oh wait, shish, how is school? Like, where did anything like that ever come up to the point where you're like, oh wow, like what's going on, to the point where you felt like, was there ever a conversation, I guess, with the kids about like you are black in a white country and this is just what life may look like, right? Was there,
Right.
and I know you as the parents, like you said, that that's kind of what you faced, right? You and
Right.
you thought like it always meant you were othered, you had to work a little harder, you had to. So did you ever, was there ever a conversation, or did you ever like, was that ever a thing that your kids asked about one day, or you, was there ever a conversation as you all like settled?
No, remember, no, the conversation never happened because remember how I said at the beginning when he said to me, "Mom, you never used to come to my basketball game," meaning you're never present for them.
Right.
Of course, I wasn't present because I wasn't present. I wasn't present even enough to say, "Are you okay? How's school?" Like
Mm,
things like that.
right.
To me, as a parent, I had achieved what I needed to achieve. You're in a great neighborhood.
Right.
You have access to all these facilities.
Right.
I am doing great,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's, and I think you don't see it as a problem until it's a problem,
Until, yeah. I can
right?
imagine that. Yes. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, in our minds for the longest time we were doing, in fact, how dare you say have you seen the people, your friends that live in this neighborhood?
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it never, to be honest, no, it never even crossed my mind.
Wonderful. Okay.
Hmm.
So,
And thanks for asking that.
yeah, of course. And thank you for your honest answer, right? Because I
Hmm.
mean, like, again, you're human. you're you're just here for the first time too. As much as they're here for the first time, you're here for the first time. You're all navigating it
100%.
together, right? So,
Yes.
this is not a judgment or anything. I truly was curious, right?
And I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gave
Um,
me food for thought.
yeah. And okay, so like another, I guess my I was also asking like how all the moves that your family encountered, how it, how did it affect your relationship, like your marriage? Was it, did it only like bring y'all closer together? Now you're like, this is my ride or die, you know? Or was it, because I can only imagine like people are in the same like city or country or whatever their entire lifetimes, and they butt heads over life, right?
Right.
So I just, because like the choice, to do better for your family, put your family in better better, like your kids in a better position to succeed, like how did, but were there challenges that you had to kind of navigate in your marriage? Not that I'm asking for your marital tea, like no, that's not what this is. But I've had conversations like this with a lot of folks whose parents brought them here, and in a lot of cases they're no longer together. So
Right.
so that's where this question is coming from, of like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, we did have a lot of challenges. And again, it goes back to what you remember what I said about the grieving process and not sharing your grief, right?
Right.
So yes, we did have a lot of challenges, and yeah, we did have
I can
challenges
only
for sure.
imagine. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And sorry, you say, did it bring us closer? No, it it pulled us apart.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. This is real life. This is real life.
It's
And
real life,
so,
right? No, for
yeah.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I was also going to add on something else. What, something you asked about, um, the challenges of raising kids.
Raising kids. Yeah.
The other thing too is, you know how back home it's almost like you're not done education until you're done university.
Right.
Right?
That is
I wanted to bring,
true.
yeah, I wanted to bring up, like, good, you're graduated grade 12, like, good for you. They don't even do all these fancy whatever graduation. What graduation for us is
It's
university.
university. Yes, that's true.
Right. So one of the
Oh my
things that
days. It's true. Like truly, yeah.
one of the things for me as a parent that became very challenging is coming to a place of acceptance
Mm,
that they're growing in a different world, in the sense that absolutely I believe in education and that's the route to go. But I also had to embrace their passion.
Mm.
And sometimes those two didn't marry,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
There's a podcast I listen to, and he always asks, if you could change one law in this world, what would it be? If I could change a law in this world, it would be young people should not go to university. They should take 2 years and be consistent in their passion, and then go and study for their passion. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Like, get educated, get schooling for whatever that passion is. Whatever that, if the passion needs more schooling, then go and
Then go
enhance
for
in
it.
that.
Yeah. But spend
So
2 years figuring it out.
100%. So that was one thing that was very challenging for me, in the sense that, so even for our relationship, like, he would have been more like the traditional go to school, da 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 da. But at a certain point, I started to see that their mental health was more important, and I may have leaned in more on this side. Like, I understand this is important, but without this, they won't succeed in this. And just marrying those,
without the mental health
exactly.
wellness, yeah.
Yeah, like, I want them to be more grounded. I want them to believe in themselves. I want them to have this. So my parenting style was heavy on that. And we couldn't bring, like, we didn't have the tools to marry the two.
Okay.
Yeah, so that caused a lot of friction, for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm an artist. I don't know if Shish mentioned this,
I know that.
but
I know that.
I went through my own journey with my parents, mostly my
Yeah.
mom, right?
Right.
My dad was the breadwinner, breadwinner of our home growing up, and
Right.
he didn't really have an issue. He just was like, if you want to go and learn how to sell tomatoes on the road, just focus and do well at it. He did not.
Good.
He wasn't worried about what exactly it is you wanted to do. He was about see it through and
100%.
and push through it.
Consistency.
Yeah, see it through, practice, be the best at it, do the greatest thing. Just don't waste my money that I'm putting for school fees. Just don't
I
waste.
agree.
Just don't
I
waste
agree.
that school fees.
I agree.
But my mom more so wanted me to like go into medicine as a nurse, as a doctor, something.
Yeah.
Like that, and it was a bit of a push and pull for a long time.
Right. And also, just to retaliate on that, remember, from a parent's point of view, I know this may not be necessary, but it is true for us. I'm raising my kids, my friend here is raising her kids, and all of us, it's like a community of people raising kids.
Yeah.
And our success, and I mean the community, is, this one is in University of Calgary.
Yep. Yes. If you can't brag with your kids, what are you bragging about?
Exactly.
Like, truly.
Yeah. So with that comes a little more push, not necessarily as to what the kid wants or the child, what is necessary for that child. Is like, you are making me look bad. Right? Yeah. I didn't parent you enough if I didn't get you to this level.
Wow.
Right? So peer pressure is real for us too. We're experiencing it too. As much as the child might be like, you don't even care about me. Actually, no, I don't. I care about how I show up.
Actually, I don't, mama. But that's real. It's like, what would they say? What would they say? Have you seen this person's child? They are abroad. You must go abroad. Like, those, like,
it's true.
Yeah,
no,
that's true.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. Like,
yeah, of
really,
course.
When the child says, don't you care about my feelings and how I feel? No, actually, I don't. I care about how I show up in the community.
Yeah, and like it just is proof of I did a good job raising you, and it just is like
100%.
this idea of like validation based on the choices that your kid makes, right?
Yes, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've talked a lot about challenges. Let's talk about some joys. Let's talk about triumphs. Let's talk about wins.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
what would you say are some things that like you, if you had to do it all over again, you absolutely would, because these are like the wins that you experienced. I've met Shish. Shish was on this podcast. I've met him in a couple of other places in the city. And Shish is an incredible human being. So
Right.
well
Yeah.
done. Well done to
Yeah,
you
I
and
know
his
he
dad.
is.
Like, he is an
No, he
incredible
is.
person. He's a
Yes.
genuine person, strong about his faith, very
Yes.
respectful, and creative. So like y'all did a good job. So
Thank you.
don't worry about Shish being an engineer or anything like that. I can tell you.
So
you know?
if I could do it all again, you know what? I too have I've grown as well, right? Like I'm
Yeah,
not the same mom that I
of
was
course.
20 years ago, and
Mhm.
the Sarah, when I'm sitting with my children and we are talking, or I'm lost for words because the joy is just almost like I have to walk away and say, these are mine. Like,
Oh.
this is me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, no amount of tears or no amount of hardships, no amount of any of that. I am a billionaire
Mm.
because I have beautiful children. I am one of those women that is so lucky. I have never spent a day in hospital with any of my children. I thank God every day.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
they're healthy. Um, I hope they're doing what they think they should be doing at this point in their lives.
Mhm.
My door is open. My heart is open.
Mhm.
I just I don't have words.
Aw. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's always the thing with parents. It's like you worry and wonder and are afraid. You have sleepless nights, and you go through all these things hoping and praying that, like, in as much as you've raised your kids, they're, especially if they're adults, they're at the point where they get to make the choices themselves.
Yes.
It's no
Yes.
longer about what mommy told me to do. You get to
No.
really see, it's no longer I have to do this because mommy said this.
No.
Now they're leading their own lives, and
Yeah.
that's where you really get to see, wow.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
this person, it was not a waste. It was not a it was worth it. All of it,
Yes.
all the hardship, all the
Yes.
moving from Zambia to the US,
Yes.
coming in as a
Yes.
refugee, all the staying in the refugee camp, all the
Yes.
dealing with all these things were worth it, because these are human beings who are just a blessing.
100%.
Yeah.
And just to add on to that, when you not not that I'm playing comparison because it does come up for anyone.
Hmm.
If I had been in Zambia raising my kids, you know how it is back home. We have so much help, and
Yep.
it takes a
It
village,
really
right?
does take a village.
Not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not only do you have domestic help, you have influences from
Hmm.
aunties or whatever.
Uncles,
If
your
the child is
parents.
having the teenage tantrums, they can go to auntie across the street and they'll say,
Yeah.
even your mother used to do blah 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 blah
Ah,
blah.
yeah. Snitches.
Exactly. So everybody is involved in how you raise your kid.
Of
And it's
course.
not a bad thing necessarily, but it can be a bad thing as well. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
if there's bad influences, yeah.
Thank you. So being here, as challenging as it can be, your voice is the loudest.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
you have no choice,
Hmm.
right? When you have your own kids, Sarah, it's you and them, and then you and them alone. Just
Oh,
you.
oh, okay.
You
Okay.
want you can't say, "Mommy, take this child for 5 years to Nigeria. I'll come and pick her up."
5 years. Oh my days. I mean, not gonna lie, people do it. People are just
I
like,
know,
yeah. And
but
it impacts the child the way that it impacts the child too, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
yeah, so that part I just wanted to acknowledge that,
for
we
sure.
don't acknowledge that, thank you for being here because you gave me an opportunity to be a hands-on parent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and also like the opportunities too that it would it gives your kids, and they have access that they may not have had, right, if they were in
Right.
Zambia, and like, you know, in as much as they're great people, but now the world is sort of open to them, if that makes any sense. You get what
100%.
I mean? Because I
100%.
think for myself, like, I'm an artist. If I was practicing in Nigeria right now,
Hmm.
not to say it's all smooth sailing here, it's not by any means, but it's
Yeah.
certainly, I certainly would have faced way more barriers, right?
Totally.
Especially as a woman, like that's just what the reality is, right?
Yes.
Like
But I'm excited for you guys because I was listening to something the other day, and I think it was Idris Alba. He's excited about. He thinks Africa in regards to art, like that's the new hub. That's
oh, it
where
is
everything is going.
growing. Oh,
I
don't even get
know.
me twisted. Like it is. And see, that's why like I'm glad I'm dual citizen. Like the passport
Yes.
here, the passport there. They both serve their
100%.
purpose. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and
200%.
and I'm gonna be Nigerian till I die. I'm not killing that part of me for
I love that.
anybody. My children will
Yes.
know where they're from. They will know their grandfather's house by the grace of
Good.
God. But, you
Amen.
know, it just is the idea that um it, there's nothing wrong with building yourself and
Oh,
growing
total.
and taking advantage of what is out here, and then
Yes.
pouring it back home or using it to
Yes.
push, you know, your culture forward, even if you have to do it
Right.
from here, right?
Yes, and it's the ability. I mean, intelligence is being able to live in both realities. The dichotomy to say I am fully Canadian and I am
Fully
fully
Nigerian,
Nigerian,
yes.
and being able to sit in those worlds.
Yeah.
That is the power of. I think is the power of intelligence.
Yeah.
Like being able to hold two truths at the same time.
Yes, that is
You're
true.
you're onto something. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Final question with regards to, you know, your experience in the subject matter of this topic of what we're discussing today. What would you do differently if you were to pack up your family all over again? What is something that when you look back in hindsight, you're like, if I could go back, I would do this better, or I would do, you know, what would you say would be that for you?
Um, Remember how I said at the beginning, like the kids were split?
Yes.
I would have everybody together. Like, whether it's all of us coming together at the same time and growing together and all that, that's the one thing I would change
Mm-hmm.
because it, I now see the effects of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
So,
That's powerful.
yeah. So whether it's, I don't know. I'm sure my second son would kill me for saying this, but like I left him when he was a year old. He might have separation anxiety,
Mm,
right? It might still be in him, or
right.
that. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So
Yes.
yeah, and then I mentioned both my stepdaughter had to go to her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't all like I'm sure she was just confused. Like
Yeah.
what happened? Where are those people? Where are my brothers and sisters? You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I could change that, I would make sure that we all buckled up, made the trip together. There was no wondering. We grew as we grew, and we came as we came, and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Because like I'm learning as I live life
Mm,
and as you get older that
right.
most things that we as adults face now and that are issues
Yeah.
started from childhood.
I agree.
When I discovered that, I was like, um who asked you, first of all? Why did you tell me? Why did you have to tell me this? Who told you that I wanted to know? Like, because now I have to deal with this. right? Who told you? What is your business? Oh, why did you tell me? And like, I'm glad I know, but I just remember in that moment, like I was mind blown, you know.
Right. Right.
But well done to you for having that like self awareness and awareness enough of the situation, and you just looking back and seeing the effect, and
Yeah.
just knowing that, okay,
Yeah.
if I could advise someone, if I could do it over again, this is
Yeah.
something I would do different. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you so much, Shula,
You're welcome.
for sharing, for coming
You're
on,
welcome.
for telling Shish like, would you put me in touch with Sarah? You know, let's make this happen. I want to be on the podcast, and
I know. I
I'm glad.
know.
And like when I met up with him, when he was telling me this,
Mhm.
and he's like, well, he's not sure how to do it. That like, can we do it through email? I'm like, do you have WhatsApp? Because
Yeah.
WhatsApp is the immigrants, like, I don't
It's
even know
the
what the
global
word
way
is.
of
The
communicating.
global, yeah. This is like the new world order. This is how folks in the diaspora reach out to their family back home, right? So, hey,
Totally.
if you have WhatsApp, let's make it happen, you know?
Yeah, no,
So,
I'm glad we made it happen.
I'm so glad we did, because you've shared so
Yeah.
much like insight into like
Hmm.
your perspective as the parent, taking the risk really, and bringing your family, not being sure if it'll work out, you know um handling a lot of the burden that comes with such a move. So I really am grateful to you for just coming and sharing your story, sharing your perspective as the parent. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're very welcome. My
So
pleasure.
of course, are you on social media? Would you like to share your social medias with us, or you're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
please,
yeah.
please, please share.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Sorry.
I mean, are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? Are you on
Yes,
the
I'm on
internet?
Facebook. Yes,
Are you on LinkedIn? Would you like folks to connect on a business level? Like,
on
what do you
Instagram, I guess.
Instagram? Yeah.
I'm learning. I'm learning. I've got, it's funny. I'll tell you a little background. I have so many heartfelt, like, I think I want to say 90% of my friendships are just wholehearted conversation. I'm not one of those people that just talk about, oh, the weather is
I
nice.
knew I knew you were gonna talk about the weather. I just knew it. I knew it was gonna be the weather, because that's the most Canadian go-to conversation filler, awkward moment discussion. Like, how is so the weather today? Eh? Yeah,
Like,
no, it's
we all
winter.
know.
Like,
We all,
we know.
I know. So anyway, most of my friends have been saying, you need to do a podcast. You need to start something.
Oh,
You need to talk. You've got so much to share. You need to do blah, blah, blah.
yes, do
So
it. Do it. Like, why
I
not?
will. I will. I will. So when I was talking to Chish, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw myself out there because the part of parenting is something that is a no-brainer. It just flows, right? It's
Right.
You have to start where you feel the most comfortable, I believe.
Yes.
And then when I remember when you and I spoke, and then you were like, no, I don't compare myself to anyone. I just do me. And I was like, there it is. Authenticity. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
I
And I
mean,
love that.
like, I stress myself out enough with what I have going on, so like I can't afford, and like I can't afford it, and of course
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel like I could be better, I could be doing better, and I feel like, but you know what? Everybody goes through those moments. You just shake it up,
100%.
go to God in prayer, because I have a God, according to my mom,
Exactly. Exactly.
and move
Exactly.
forward, and just
Right.
keep it pushing. But
For
yeah, no,
sure.
share your Instagram if you would like to.
Okay.
Do
Do
you
I even know that?
do you remember? You don't remember? Okay.
Sarah, please.
Okay.
Me and Bessie are doing my thing.
Oh my days. Okay. No worries. No worries. It's okay. But would you mind, just before we as we round up, would you mind just giving us a word of wisdom, just an advice for folks to just take with them as they listen to this podcast?
For
They
sure.
move on with their day or what they have going on.
For sure. Just to remember that you can have it all. but just not at the same time.
Okay.
Like if you can just sit in that space where you don't have to have a career and raise children at the same time. You know, you can have a career after you've raised kids. Or you can have, but I'm just saying that whatever your dreams, whatever your aspirations, whatever it is, this big, 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 big dream God has given you, you can have it all, but just not at the same time.
Hmm.
So don't be hard on yourself. Like, you know, there's so much mental illness because people are struggling to just fit in, you know. Young people, oh, I want to buy a house because if you don't have a house, da 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 da. Oh, so and so they got married, they've got children. Me, I want baby shower. Hey, hey, the press.
You want baby shower? Not even the baby. It's the baby shower.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just stay in your lane and just remember you can have it all, but just not at the same time. If you can just hold that for yourself, it just takes off the pressure. Because younger me wanted it all at the same time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But older, wiser me looks at things and like, okay, this is not, and just knowing your season, right? Oh, this is my season to flourish. This is my season of rest. This is my season to hunt. This is my season to navigate. Just know your season.
Wow. That's so powerful because I want it all at the same time. But I completely hear you. Like
Yeah.
I would run myself crazy if I had everything now, truly.
100%. Like the truth of the matter is, okay, this is something that I've learned recently. People say they want something, but they don't even want what they want. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's something that maybe because I'm older, maybe because I'm very I'm a very present person. Sometimes I hear somebody talk about this. I'm like, you're saying you want this, you don't even want this because you're
Right.
what you want and who you are like this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some people will say, "Oh, I want to get married," whatever. I'm just giving young people.
Yeah.
I want to get married. I'm like, you're not even near husband or wife material. What are you talking about? How are, how are you going to take care of a woman when all you do is A, B, C, D?
Oh, that's
Or a
so
woman
real.
saying, I want a husband. And they're like, I want my time. I want to sleep in when I want. I'm like, marriage is it's not Hollywood you watch. Marriage is you kids.
She said, "You kids."
I'll leave you alone.
But that's true. Like, I'm never gonna like. I think honestly, I think that sometimes because I'm at the age where my mom is kind of like, "All right, now I'd like to carry my grandbabies." Okay, you know.
Exactly.
And I've told her God provides children, not me. But like in as much as I desire, oh, I'd like, it'll be nice to be married and da da da. I also am like, well, the career path I've chosen for myself is a little bit tricky, and
Right.
it will take a different kind of person, right? I know that I'm not for everybody, not everybody's for me, and like
Right.
the kind of even the kind of person I am, the kind of like direction I want my life to go.
Totally.
Not everybody can go on that path with me.
100%. Right. And remember, Sarah, but I want to emphasize when I say you can have it all, not at the same time, I am not saying compromise. I am saying there are certain aspirations that you have to hang on the shelf while you do certain things,
Right.
right? Like, I'm all about be a high powered, live in your truth, trust me, the right person will find you there.
Right.
as opposed to when we were growing up, they would tell us, with a career like yours, you think you'll get married. Right? So we
Yeah.
almost had to bring
Being
ourselves
yourself.
down.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when I say you can have it all, not at the same time, I'm not saying minimize. I'm just saying certain things you might have to put on the shelf and accept, right?
Right.
So with women, if you continue to pursue your career, remember on the other side, your biological clock is ticking.
No, it is God that gives children.
Okay. You and I will talk in 10 years. You'll be like, Mashallah, can we talk? That conversation.
It is God that gives children.
I live in.
But no, I hear you. I mean, I like it's the fact of life, and I've had a friend tell me this actually before when I was like, well, these are some of my goals, and my goals
Yeah.
scare me,
Yeah.
and
That's
like,
good.
I mean, yeah, that's good, but then I also want to, be a mom and have
Yeah.
a healthy, marriage, and I also want to have a healthy like life outside of work and an identity outside of it, and I want to like do all the things and be all the things I could be,
Right.
right? And this friend of mine said, well, it's possible. It just may not be possible at like it all at a time, and
No,
you
totally.
may have to have a season where if you just maybe for the first few years after having a kid, you're at home or you're not
Right.
taking as much work as you would, in your
100%.
artistry, and you're just
Yes.
focusing on being present with your family, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then when they get to a certain level or age or whatever, then you can start doing more, and
Yes.
your career can push forward that way. But I'm like,
For sure.
well, it's not the same for men.
And you see, that's where okay, this is my take. I think your version of what you want for your kids won't be necessarily the same version that your partner wants for your children. Remember, you're blending two different worlds. He was raised one way, you're
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? So I like to say, when you look in the future and you're sitting there, what sort of a family would you like to have?
Right.
And if you can't go there in your mind, remember how you said things happen the way we were raised?
Mm.
If you can't go to that future in your mind, you're going to default to what you know.
No.
So I learned this very recently, that people do not aspire to go to the heights of what they're capable of. We drop to the level of what we think we deserve.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I need to sit with that. Yeah, I need to sit with
People
that.
do not strive to go up to the heights of what they're capable of being.
Yeah.
Remember, it comes back to, we're not afraid of failure. We're actually afraid of success.
Success.
Failure, we know. How
Yeah.
to juggle, how to be small, how to pretend. We got that.
We got that.
But success means we've got to lose so much of what we know.
Mm-hmm.
So back to what I said, people do not strive to the level of what they're capable of.
Right.
They fall down
To what they think they deserve. Wow. Whew. Gotta shake it. I gotta shake it off because like goosebumps. But
There you go.
thank you so much, Miss
You're very
Shula.
welcome.
I really appreciate you. You have shared so much. You've imparted English language. You will not embarrass me today. You will not embarrass me today.
Today is not the day.
Today is not the day. But you, for real,
Oh,
you've passed on so much like wisdom, and I just truly appreciate you for just sharing your story, being honest and real and raw. Because I know sometimes it's not really easy to go there. So I appreciate you, and for your word of advice, and for your, yeah, just thank
you
you.
are so welcome. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, awesome. And for our listeners, we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Yay! Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Afros in the Diaspora. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and hopeful. To engage, feel free to like, follow, share, and subscribe to Afros in the Diaspora on all social media and podcast platforms. Remember to leave a review and a rating. If you would like to be a guest, please reach out. Send an email to hi@afrosinthediaspora.com. That is hi@afrosinthediaspora.com. Or send us a DM on Instagram at afrosinthediaspora. Remember, there is beauty in our stories and power in our voices. Together, we are stronger. Until next time.